Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome into a live edition of Betting Weekly The Edge. I am Doug Kezirian alongside Dustin Fox. We are without the Bull, Adam the Bull, who is on family vacation this week. Usually we are in his very capable hands, but I'm going to be steering the ship for this episode. We're going to break down a lot of props. I'm going to throw a same game parlay out there as well. Dustin, you're always on the road. Where are you at these days?
I'm actually in my home state, surprisingly. We are at Oxford, Ohio. We're in Miami of Ohio tomorrow. They take on UNLV. It's actually a really good game that I've been super pumped about as I prep this week for it. But I just got here, about 4 hour drive, and literally got into this room about 10 minutes ago. So I'm ready to go, locked in on the props for the weekend. Hopefully, I'll be better than I was a weekend ago. I've been like ice cold with the props. I've been good on everything else. But no, good to be with you. Adam's slacking today, man. Bull's just off gallivanting around somewhere in New York, I think, and doing bar mitzvah stuff, and just being the wonderful Jewish man that he is.
I always joke that like life gets in the way of my gambling. It really gets annoying when things happen that just derail my focus on games and live betting all day. Yeah, I had some bad beats as well last week, but I feel pretty good about this card. By the way, I do like the home dog, the Red Hawks, in your game tomorrow. Not that you're calling the game. Don't want to get you too. I think UNLV could be in for a rude awakening. The time change for
Yeah,
anyone who's traveled West Coast,
I
East
think that's a
Coast.
big deal too.
But I,
Yeah.
but I believe Dan Mullen's been practicing out here at 9 a.m. Is that right?
Doug, you are like up on this, man. Because yes, we found that out yesterday. We talked with Coach Mullen yesterday afternoon, and yes, they have been practicing at 9 a.m. because it is a 9 a.m. local kick here on the East Coast. So
Yeah, the body
I
clock.
was actually surprised they didn't come out early for this game. They came out like tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. Redhawks off a what buy, I should say. So the old
Yep,
there's been a little steam. You got basically a coin flip game. It's gone down to two. I bet you it closes pick 'em or something like that. But
I think
we
you're right.
shift to the NFL where I think we're going to have some really interesting handicaps. Week 3 tricky. A lot of dogs bark. We saw the Dolphins cover last night. Teams that are 0-2. Usually there's been an overreaction in the market. So I think that's going to have a domino effect on the props. But just want to remind everyone, if you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for the newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. I think it's a really fascinating situation with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, a face of the league, if not the face. But Kansas City's 0-2, but so close to being 1-1. Really, potentially could have been 2-0. They faced obviously quality competition, losing to the Eagles last week and also the Chargers in week 1. The spread is 6, but also Andrew Thomas returning for the Giants, or at least a game time decision. And that's a big factor. The big left tackle, he changes. So I think he can change, the possession of the Chiefs if the Giants are more competent offensively and don't have to punt all the time. First thing I want to ask you, though, and I know this was on neither of our slates, but Patrick Mahomes has been a beast, rushing for about 60 yards in each of the first 2 games and a touchdown. His rushing yards prop is 29.5. Some of us will be itching to fire on Sunday Night Football. Is this something that we think this is sort of the new age Chiefs, especially when you're 0-2 and looking to do whatever it takes to win?
Boy, it's interesting because Mahomes is athletic. I mean, he's not a statue in the pocket. He's not Joe Flacco, who we have in Cleveland, who can barely move at all. Um, but I mean, 29 and a half is kind of a rather large number for a
Yeah.
quarterback, don't you think? I mean, I had Josh Allen over 24 and a half last night. I actually bought it a couple yards on that to get it a little lower, and it went over by the skin of my teeth. Um, to 25. So I mean, this is going to be interesting. I just like wouldn't want to sweat this late like I was last night with Josh Allen. You're in the fourth quarter and you're like wondering like, oh man, is he going to get those extra couple of yards? It just makes me nervous. However, I do have a quarterback over rushing yard prop in my picks today. So kind of
Ooh,
going against how I'm kind of like
what a
talking
tease.
talking out both sides of my mouth here a little bit.
What a tease. That's a professional tease. But you're right. It is a big number. And maybe he's running for his life with Sexy Dexy out there. with Dexter Lawrence pressuring the pocket. I know the Giants will be fired up. They're obviously 0-2, should have won last week, if not tied at the worst, but they did not. A lot of people in survivor pools survived, but I can't get involved. And I just wanted to bring up Mahomes because it's so important not to be a prisoner of the moment, right?
Right.
Obviously, he has scrambled a bunch. He's been flushed out, but the Chargers and the Eagles obviously have firm defensive fronts, and he was running for his life in a lot of ways. Now, the Giants are competent defensive front, but not the same as the Chargers, not the same as the Eagles. 29.5 is a hefty number. I'm not getting involved, but I thought it was worth discussing because it looks like free money. He's got a touchdown run and well over that mark in each of the first two games. But you do have a prop in this Sunday night football game. What do you got?
Yeah, I've got Isaiah Pacheco over 9.5 total carries. At least that's what I saw earlier. We have it 10.5 now at minus
Yeah.
121 on Bet Rivers. Okay. I mean, it's an extra carry that I got to get, but I'm cool with it. I think it's a good spot for him. I mean, the Chiefs' rushing offense as a whole, it's kind of like a buy low spot in some ways. They just haven't looked that good. And I just think the Giants are 0-2. It's an opportunity here to, I think, kind of get right. I mean, the spread, I think 6 or 6.5, depending on where we're looking, and what time we're looking. But this is a defense that I think the Chiefs will be able to run the football against. Um, the Chiefs this year have primarily been playing from behind, right? I mean, they've lost 2 games, and so that creates obviously a passing situation for Mahomes, and those numbers would obviously be inflated a little bit. So, I mean, I see Pacheco somewhere in that 12 to 14 range. It'll be close, but I think he'll most likely get an opportunity here to get over 10.5 carries.
Yeah, I mean, look, all hands on deck. You got to go to your big bell cows, if you will. And I
Hmm.
do think the Giants' defense can be competent at times. Now, obviously, the Cowboys slinging the ball all over the place, but that was a shootout last week, and the Cowboys are going to have a lot of those types of games. But I can certainly get behind Pacheco in this situation. I do think New York will be able to control the ball a little bit more than they have in the past with Andrew Thomas returning. But with that being said, we saw good Russ for most of the game last week. There's a chance we don't at all. You mentioned the Chiefs 0-2, need to get in the win column. Spags back facing the Giants at MetLife, where he won a Super Bowl with those defenses against Tom Brady and the Patriots. Spags will not mess around. He's gonna turn up the heat against Russell Wilson. And I do think the Chiefs could be looking at Pacheco to bleed some clock. So with a game script with KC favored by 6 here at Bet Rivers certainly favors that. Now, being the professional that you are, you mentioned a quarterback rushing prop that you like, and we will shift to that game with the Patriots and Drake May. They are hosting the Steelers, and the Pittsburgh defense has looked awful. That's probably one of the biggest surprises of the year, just how bad that unit has looked compared to recent years. Why do you think Drake May can find some running room here against Pittsburgh?
I mean, Justin Fields had 12 carries for 48 yards against this defense in week one. May this past game had, I believe, 10 for 30 or 31 yards, roughly something like that. And you just said it. I mean, this is a Pittsburgh defense that has really struggled to start this season. So, I mean, it's kind of like right there in that wheelhouse of where I was last night with Josh Allen. It was 24.5 for me, the number that I had. That was an alternative line, but this is right there where I could see him getting in that 30-yard ish range again. He doesn't even have to get to 30; he just got to get to 23.
Right.
Yeah. So or actually 26 on our newest updated. So maybe people are with me. That line's moving. So over 25.5 is the final number that I'm going to lock in there.
Good point on the movement of this. And look, May is super athlete. I think he had the play of the game on that scramble at the bottom of the screen against Miami. He was flushed out the pocket. I want to say it was third down, and he found some serious running room. So, given his athleticism, it may only take one run to do that against a Steelers defense that has certainly been vulnerable this season so far. You mentioned you're in the state of Ohio. Well, one team from the state of Ohio, it's on the road, but I think it's a fascinating matchup with the Bengals visiting the Vikings. Minnesota's a 3-point home favorite. This total has dropped 5 points. I want to say it's at 42.5 because both quarterbacks that started the season will be out. We know Joe Burrow is out for at least 3 months, maybe the season. So Jake Browning steps in, and Minnesota, as McCarthy's been banged up. We have a Carson Wentz sighting in week 3. I did not think we were going to see that. So that's certainly a surprise. And I've been an advocate of Browning, thinking he should be a starter in the NFL. Frankly, I think a lot of these quarterbacks should be starters, and a lot of these QBs like Tua should not be getting the paydays they've gotten, but that's a conversation for another day. So, as I mentioned, the total dropped significantly. And it's really a fascinating handicap with the props across the board, not just the QBs involved that are, the backups getting the start, but I think guys like Jamar Chase who are automatic and Jefferson, what do you do with them? I think you have to play. I think Browning's comfortable in the offense. And I say this all the time, like how a quarterback looks mid-game when he's brought in versus a full week of practice. Dustin, you can talk to this better than I can. They're going to look so much more composed. The game plan, the offensive structure, everything's going to be more tailored towards them instead of them having to fill in. Um, just all week of practice with the ones. I think Chase is going to be just fine. I have probably more optimism in Jefferson because he's facing this Cincinnati defense, but I like both guys to find the end zone. I know it's a low total, but it's plus money. If you get one of them, you make money. I like both of these guys to find pay dirt.
It's so funny. I didn't know that you were taking Jefferson too. I was going to say let's make it like a daily double and put them together and parlay that because they were talking a little smack this week. Jamar Chase was asked about doing the gritty, and if Justin Jefferson was going to like be mad if he did this, that, and the other, and he says, "Well, if he's mad, I'm definitely doing it." So both these guys have a desire to get to the end zone, and you better believe it. I mean, you got two backup quarterbacks who are playing in this game that you know how this goes. I mean, if you're a backup quarterback and you've got like superstar talent, especially on the outside, you're looking to get the football into those guys' hands as much as you possibly can, especially in those critical moments down there in the red zone. So I think both of those at plus money, plus 390 is if we parlay those together, a hundy to pay about 400. I like that.
I like your style with the parlay. What about if the coaching game plan decides to go vanilla, right? Like let's pick our spots when we throw the ball and Jordan Mason over 75.5 rushing yards. Any interest there just to kind of almost something like these college teams that just don't want to mess it up, just punt, lean on their defense, let the other team screw up first.
Mean about Chase Brown over 71 and a half yards. Because
Okay.
I just look at what the Falcons were able to do on Sunday night with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. I mean, dude, it was like a punt return every time they got the football handed off to
Wow.
him. I mean, they were running through the line of scrimmage, not touched. So maybe they clean it up. I don't know, but I think if this game potentially goes the way that you think it could, a little more conservative on not throwing the ball 30 plus times, well then I think Brown would have a chance to. I mean, both running backs could have a chance, but I like Brown just because specifically what I saw on Sunday night with that defense.
Yeah, I just part of me just wants to give Minnesota a little bit more credit. I just didn't think they were ready to play off the big Monday night game. Big win, short week, and the Falcons were the desperate team down or starting off 0-1. I was a little disappointed, but I think this Bengals
How are you
defense is a
flat?
little
But
loose. I
Dougie, how
know.
are you flat on Sunday Night Football at home with that environment? It's
Makes no
crazy.
sense. They couldn't get any pressure on McCarthy, and he was picking apart his zone. You got to the quarterback if you're going to play zone. It was maddening. I mean, I had the Falcons in some pick'em leagues because the line was stale at 3.5. But really, money line, I had some Vikings there, and I just could not believe it. To your point, I just thought that he had a huge coaching edge with O'Connell against Morris, and you're right. Morris had his guys ready to play, and you're right. Algiers and Bijan running all over them. So maybe that carries over to the next week. I just think the Bengals defense is certainly leaky, so that's why I was looking the other way with Mason. But we shall see. I
Mhm.
touched on at the top of the show with the week 3 being just a different animal. We see a lot of underdogs bark with the points, but also outright wins. It's teams that are fat and happy. I remember last year the Bucks were off to a 2-0 start, feeling themselves, and then Denver comes in with Bo Nix and actually blows them out. And they just said we weren't ready to play from the start. You get some teams again fat and happy. You just want to kind of pounce in certain games. So I call this sort of next stretch of games, Dustin, like upset alert. The Bucks, similar situation, 2-0 off a Monday night win. Obviously, drama at the very end. Baker Mayfield scrambling for his life. And you get the Jets coming in who just got their tails kicked, and their starting quarterback's down. Tyrod Taylor is going to be playing, and I think it's an upgrade in my eyes. And so a couple things jump out. One is Tyrod first touchdown scored 22-1. I'm a believer that the league is shifting where veteran quarterbacks have a lot more value. So much of playing quarterback in the NFL is about the mental game. So guys like Sam Darnold getting a second sort of run on their career. Look at Baker Mayfield, right? He was left for dead. He was on the Rams practice squad or whatever he was, played that Monday nighter, had the big comeback, and all of a sudden he finds a new home and wins a division in Tampa and gets a new contract. I think it's such a mental aspect of things. Taylor, being the veteran that he is, will be an upgrade on Fields. And yeah, he's a game manager, but he's got the legs, so he's a dual threat. 22-1. And if you think the Bucks are flat, because I know there's really sharp money on the Jets at 7, now it's 6.5. I think there's have some fun with Taylor, who can certainly, break from the pocket and make something happen with his legs.
So it is interesting your comments about the veteran quarterbacks and how there's definitely value there. That is enticing to me. The Bills are sort of my team because my son loves the Buffalo Bills, and obviously I played there for a few seasons, and so we've got some ties there. And I watched that game this past weekend, and the Jets' defensive line is really good. Williams, Johnson, McDonald, like they've got some dudes who've been really good. Um, I think that it's going to be different this week than it was against Josh Allen, just because Josh Allen's such a far superior athlete than Baker Mayfield, and I think it's going to create some problems. That number is dude. The Buccaneers have been trailing every game they played. They're 2-0, and we all saw it. Their games have been like featured. It was like the last game to finish in that window, in the Falcons game in Week 1. This last game, everyone was watching is Monday Night Football. Like I like you tend to be a little. I like to go contrarian and go against, like, the public wants to see Baker continue to do these things, and the Jets just got blown out. I like the Jets in that in terms of the line of this game. They could win this game, by the way, easily.
Yeah. Quinnen Williams, you mentioned him. He is adamant about that they got shredded yet last week. He says that will
hmm
not happen this week. I think this defense is coming in. I think their new coach will have them ready. I think the Bucks, you mentioned dramatic win in game 1, dramatic win in game 2 that came down to the final seconds. Short week. You just have to kind of prognosticate the gas tank for these teams sometimes. I just don't know what's left for the Bucks, and to be laying 6.5, and this Jets team that just got their heads kicked in, they're going to be coming ready to rock. Taylor is solid. Like, is he going to win MVP? No, but you're right. The Josh Allen made him look stupid last week, but Mayfield can't do that, and that offensive line is terrible. So on top of that, I also like Baker Mayfield under 236.5 passing yards. Now, I have a feeling that they could be trailing, and he might have to. But the offensive line, I think I think D'Amico Ryans was very foolish last week. You could tell that Mayfield was trying to get the ball out early and often, and because they had no O line. I think the Jets are going to see that. Aaron Glenn sees that on tape. They're going to put pressure. They're going to lock up the defense. They're not going to play 20 yards off these receivers. I think it's going to be really hard to move the ball. I think this is a rock fight. I think this is an under if the Bucks D can show up. I think it's going to be a lot of moving the chains with Taylor, sometimes with his legs. I think we're going to see a punt fest. And I don't think Mayfield's going to be able to sling the ball around like he wants to. I think he's going to lean on the running backs because I don't think Aaron Glenn's going to let him have free reign throwing to Mike Evans and company. So I like Mayfield under passing yards in this specific matchup.
I think did I read some stuff this week that the Buccaneers sent like 2 of their offensive linemen to IR this week too?
Well, that was the case last week. I mean, they were really depleted,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's
last
why
week. Yeah. Excuse me.
Mayfield,
Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah.
Mayfield
Yeah.
was
I mean,
running for his life the entire game.
it was tough to watch, but he continues to make plays. I mean, listen, Baker is having an amazing resurgence, to his
Oh yeah.
career. It's incredible. Happy for him. I mean, he seems to be like doing really well mentally. He's got a spot there in Tampa. They love him. I got friends who live in Tampa Bay, and they're like all in on Baker Mayfield. So Happy for the great folks in Tampa Bay, but in this matchup, man. By the way, this is Tyrod Taylor's 58th career start. And he's right about 500 with a straight up record. So, like, this is a game he can win.
And you're right. He's not just a duct tape and patchwork. He's been a starter in this league. And I agree with you with Mayfield. I like to see it. He's obviously won over teammates going back to his Oklahoma days.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly a guy who's certainly likable, an easy guy to root for. I want to continue the upset alert concept with the Saints visiting the Seahawks. I know a lot of people in survivor pools are picking Seattle, as am I. But I know sharp money's coming on the Saints. I know a math modeler who made this game 3, so that's certainly way off. But what do you make of Olave? I know you have him circled here.
Mm-hmm.
Saints are healthy now. They played the first 2 games on the road. They've been competent, so maybe they're not a disaster of a team, but this is a tough ask to go on the road in a really tough stadium.
He's getting a lot of targets. I know that much. I mean, he's been just getting. I mean, he's got 23 targets this season. Now he hasn't been over 59 and a half yards. 57 and a half yards is the number we're going to go with here on Bet Rivers. Hasn't been over that this year. But man, I just feel like this is a game where he'll have those opportunities. If he continues to get those targets, dude, you're getting like over 10 targets a game. I mean, you've got to find a way to get a couple of chunk plays there against this defense. I definitely think over 57 and a half is going to be a good one for me. Maybe one of my favorite picks of this weekend.
Right. I like it. And the game script, at least the point spread, indicates they should be trailing. So
Right.
maybe more pass happy for Rattler. And Rattler's a guy who's more comfortable. This is not a new quarterback. He played a decent amount last year, although he is winless on the road. Something to keep in mind. Another team that's getting maybe some upset buzz, the Panthers hosting the Falcons off that big win Sunday night. This number has creeped up a little bit. I believe it was 4.5. Now it's 5. Carolina was a thorn in some sides a year ago. So Falcons are 5-point favorites, and you want to circle and focus on Drake London here for Atlanta.
Yeah, going to go under his receiving total, which we have at 63 and a half. Open around 67 earlier in the week. So I think maybe I'm not the only one that maybe had this one circled. I don't think that Carolina has some elite pass defense. Even though they did a nice job, earlier this year against Brian Thomas and Marvin Harrison in back-to-back weeks. I think the number is 60, 59 and a half is probably where it should be. I think there's a little value here, even though 67 is kind of where I liked it, but hell, we'll still go under 63.
Yeah, and look, if Penix is as green as he looked at times against Minnesota, and I know the guys were open, but maybe they're not going to be that open against the Panthers, and maybe they're trying to bleed out clock at
And,
the game
and maybe
script
they're
with the
running the
point
ball
spread.
with those backs. Those backs were beasts
Right.
on Sunday Night Football.
Well, yeah, and if they have the lead and protecting it as opposed to a tight game like some
Yep.
other times, like the Bucks game back and forth. I don't think they're on upset alert, but I think this game might be a little tougher than people realize. Packers visit the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's defense has certainly done its part so far this season. Should have really had a win over the Bengals, and then obviously the Ravens game got away from them. Though that's a tough ask. I don't think anybody has a tougher slate to start the season than the Browns, right? You go Bengals with Burrow, then you go Ravens, and now you got the Packers at the dog pound. 8-point road favorites for Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, talk to me about him.
Well, this just goes back to the Browns defense, and that's why the Browns have a chance in this game. The spread's only 7.5, where it probably should be closer to like 10, I think. You saw with the Ravens this past weekend, they didn't even do much. Like, it just sort of got away from the Browns late in that game, the block punt, then turnover, like that is where the Browns will kill themselves. It's not their defense. Their defense is good. Myles Garrett is a once in a lifetime type of player. I mean, he is having an unbelievable career. He's pretty much unblockable. I think they're going to have a hard time running the football in this game. I just like, you go back to the first game in week 1, Bengals and Browns, and at one point it was like, each team had like one possession, and like the Bengals went 30 real-time minutes without even touching the football. Like, I don't know. The Browns have a tendency to hold the ball and go for like long drives, and I know they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more now that they have Judkins back. I just think this game is going to be about the Browns playing keep away, and if they are, it means that the Packers are going to be have a little sense of urgency to throw the football. And I don't see Jacobs getting over 70 in this game.
You're right. The possessions might be minimized, but the statue you mentioned, Flacco, this is why I think I might use Green Bay in one of my survivor pools. I
Oh,
like
dude,
him.
take that all day.
Yeah, I've been using his passing yards prop over, but man, I think this is a really tough matchup. He might be running for his life, or maybe just falling down for his life because I'm not sure he can outrun things right now. I like his game, and he's obviously I talked about the mental aspect of things, but this will be really tough with that pass rush and Parsons blowing up the middle, at least the interior of the line in a few situations. Also, want to remind you that players who place a qualifying same game parlay of at least $10 on eligible NFL or NCAA football games will receive one standard entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning standard squares will be awarded a prize of a $20 bonus bet. See app and website for more details at Bet River. So that's a really cool promotion. One final game I think is interesting. Texans 0-2 visit the Jags, and Texans have gotten a little action. I know some sharp money that's moved the market. It's always been under 3, so nothing completely drastic. But I think this will be a tough game for both teams. I think Houston's going to be in desperation mode. 0-2 to start, short week. It's a kitchen sink kind of game, but I think the Jags are okay here. I think I'm shocked they didn't cover at least last week. They got the win in week 1 that they should have, but I think Stroud's really shaky. I know last week's game went over, but I really think Houston's going to find itself in a lot of unders all season because they have a strong defense, no offensive line. I'm going to play his under passing yards. It's not a huge number, but 222 and a half can really feel high if there's sort of a couple dud drives, which I think are sort of inevitable with this offensive line and offense. This Houston offense is so shaky, really shot themselves in the foot a lot last week on Monday night. Again, short week, now on the road. This has 200 passing yards written all over it in my eyes. What about you?
It's just one of those where you just hope that if you take the under, that they don't have a 2-minute drive to end the first half. Where they're
Right.
just trying to go down and get a field goal, and they just, Stroud could tack on 45 yards easily in just one quick minute. You're like, crap. We had it. So it's a fair number, and I see your point, and I do agree. They've got a good defense. They can run the ball. What we saw our boy Chubb the other night too, huh? That makes Browns fans continue to be happy as they watch Monday Night Football, seeing a couple of old teammates, having some big games. But nonetheless, yeah, I can go with that. I mean, I'm not playing it, but I don't disagree with
Right.
it.
You certainly can see the thought process behind it. All right,
Absolutely.
man. Any more any parting shots before I let you go? I know you got your own college football to get ready for, but NFL week 3, I think just want to remind everyone really tricky. We saw it with the Finns last night. I mean, they had a chance if they didn't rough the punter to
Oh my
maybe
God.
even steal it. I know there was a lot of football left, but dogs bark, things sort of settle down. Teams can get sort of snuck up on. So I just be careful out there, as I'd like to say. Anything from you on that one?
No, I just think that Derrick Henry is going to score a touchdown this week.
Ooh, slips that one in. Interesting.
I think
Okay,
you have to
so
pay. It's like you got to lay
Monday
some
Night
extra. It's like,
Football.
yeah, like I think it's like minus 170 or something. But he didn't score against the Browns. So you think he's going to go back to back weeks without scoring a touchdown? No
No,
way.
not against that Lions defense. I know Dan Campbell has talked about, what happened the last time they faced the Ravens, which was a year or two ago. They were in Baltimore and they got nuked by like 40. It was a classic case of Goff outdoors. I think it was later in the season. I want to say like not November. Um, but I do think the Ravens can manhandle this Lions team. Detroit looked all world in the Ben, Johnson revenge game, but they're just not that good of a team. And I don't think Goff's. I think this game could get away from them. But I think Derrick Henry's going to run free for sure.
Yeah, I mean the
So I like
Browns
that
held
look.
held him to 2 yards per carry last week. That is like not heard of for Derrick Henry. So I think he goes off.
Yeah, he'll be ready. Maybe the week 1 game, that Sunday night thriller, took a lot out of them.
Mhm.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Want to wish you all best of luck with your wagers for Dustin Fox and Adam the Bull, who will be back next week. I'm Doug Kezirian, and we also want to thank everyone behind the scenes who does all the heavy lifting. Good luck, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday for a breakdown. I'll be with Mike Carver, and then next Friday again, right here on The Edge.